since His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi made this comment that he was going to run for just one term in office, Kasala boss. But you know what? He's not just making this statement in 2025. He did in 2022. Now, let's take a listen.
Peter Obi, former Anambra State Governor, declared his intention to run for president in the 2023 general election in Nigeria. This loving, soft-spoken gentleman has visited the 6 geopolitical zones of the country to canvass for support amid challenges of insecurity, inflation, and religious crisis, just to mention a few. During his nationwide delegates campaign tour, the former presidential running mate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar in the 2019 general election stated that he only needs 4 years to fix Nigeria.
You see, that's the reason why it is good to document everything you are doing, you are saying, and everywhere you are going. Yes. I think this will now push back the narrative of the... In fact, see, you know that recently I came to understand that the current ruling party is more like an opposition to the opposition. The opposition is just like the ruling party, and the ruling party is just like the opposition. In fact, both the opposition and the ruling party are the opposition to Peter Obi. Is it not funny to you? So now, everybody went to market. Immediately, Peter Obi wrote that yesterday on his verified Twitter handle, which in our last video, I talked extensively about that. If you've not watched it, check it out. In fact, News of Wiki has gone to hosts, normally now, press briefing and all of that. And you see people now going from one television to another within the last 24 hours because Peter Obi have, once Peter Obi cough, everybody will run, enter all the media houses. But then, Kenneth Okowoko said something that's, appeased my heart. Peter Obi is a master strategist, right? And his strategy is actually working. Now, let's take a listen to him.
First and foremost, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria made it clear. In Section 135, subsection 2, and Section 180, subsection 2 of the Constitution is very clear. The term of a president or a governor is 4 years. 4 years. The Constitution was direct. He said the president, after spending 4 years in office, vacates his office. At times, politicians behave as if they don't have any job. So when somebody says he's going to spend only 4 years, he simply stated a constitutional provision. But here is just a little addition. The Constitution says you are no longer qualified to contest if you have contested for that position twice in previous elections. And this is by Section 137, subsection 1B, and Section 187, subsection 1B. So the issue here is this. If you say you want to contest one term, that is your own idea. That is your own opinion. You are entitled to it. In Nigeria and in some African countries, where elections are deemed not to be free and fair, that's where you have all these unnecessary arguments. Why did I say that? Even abroad, you're not sure, even when you're an incumbent, whether if you contest, whether you will win. That is where you will know that your term of office is not 8 years, it's not 2 terms, it's 1 term. So it ought not to even be a point of argument. Because even if you're an incumbent, if you recontest, you can fail. The only thing the Constitution says is that if you fail 100 times, if you have not been elected twice, you are still qualified to be governor or president. So for me, I do not see any issue whatsoever, except, like you said, distrust of themselves, and 2, because of the belief that there is no free and fair election. If there is free and fair election, then the issue of 2 term, 8 years would not arise. But here is another issue. Because of our rotational arrangement, which has this proposition of 8 years for South, 8 years for North, politicians now do not want to place themselves in a disadvantaged position, because 4 years having been taken by a Southern politician, if you are a fresh politician and you want to do another 8 years, you will know that you're dead on arrival. So it's a political strategy on its own for you to accede that you will do 4 years.
With this now, I believe that you should be more than ever convinced that in the Constitution and what Peter Obi is saying, he is just side by side moving in the right direction. Well, you know that just like Tinubu is undergoing his own reform, right, which this one is not benefiting the poor masses. It is just for him and those criminals, those corrupt leaders. It's well with us, so it's not benefiting the masses. They are using over 700 billion to renovate Murtala Mohammed Airport. That me and you, how many times do we use it? Okay. And Ghana here, for our backyard here, they built a brand new international standard airport from scratch for less than 300 million. Okay. But what are we doing? So, it's where, what am I saying in essence here? Peter Obi's strategy for 2027 of one term is something that is constitutional. He said that in 2022, ahead of 2023 general election, and he knew that if he won that election in 2023, there was no way Peter Obi was going to come back into office in 2027. He knows that because he was going to dismantle the criminal elements, right? So it's going to be a very serious fight back. But however, he will be able to, stamp his ground and make sure that he has been able to clean up the mess for whoever comes in and cares to take over from when he stops, right? So now, what he's trying to do, like I've always been saying, is the fact that he is coming on board because there is a gentleman agreement between the North and the South. And just like Kenneth Okowoko said that if the North also have an agreement of having a 4-year term, because he's speaking now for Atiku, right? If the North now have an agreement also to present a candidate for a one single term in office, then so be it. Then it's an equal. Nobody is talking about injustice here. You know that Peter Obi has always been talking about fairness, right? So if the coalition is doing this, then Peter Obi should not be running around and be talking about equity and justice and fairness again. That is what he's trying to say. He's trying to cajole Peter Obi into the ADC coalition or whatever. But some of the parts of what he said actually appeased my mind, of which I can say that yes, Peter Obi is the master of strategies. But when you look at the other side, talking about the interview that Shehu had with the Minister of Aviation, where he also talked about the 2027 politics. In that video, I will be talking about that in our next video. So let me not make this video too long. If you stick around, then we can have that conversation together in that particular video. But however, what do you think about this whole drama? Everybody has gone to market, Everybody has gone to market. He's trying to sell their aggregate bread as it stands. Wike is doing his own. No government can, turn the economic around in 2 years. Are you serious right now? He's trying to tell you that what Peter Obi is saying, 4 years. How can you change things in 4 years? Do you know what it means? Hey, I have been saying this thing right from time. That is just me saying, as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I hereby declare war against Boko Haram in the northeastern part of the country, banditry in the northwestern part of the country, Fulani herders, terrorists in the north central part of the country, and kidnapping in the south part of the country. Now, somebody will be at the comment section saying, what about the IPOB? They are not a terrorist organization as long as me I'm concerned. They are just agitating, and there is nothing wrong if you're agitating to have your own country. It's as the same as agitating to have your own states. Like a state, like I'm not talking about a nation now, states. Like people are clamoring for more addition, like they should create more states in Nigeria now. Now, those agitating for marginalization is the same thing that IPOB that they are doing. It is just because that we still have a problem. In my next video, we shall be talking about Reuben Abati as well as Festus Kayamo and the Road to 2027. Thank you for watching.
It is not because the politician did not want to do 8 years, no. But he knows that he has only 4 years left from the southern, remaining term. But here is another issue. By agreeing you will do 1 year, you do 4 years, you have also agreed that if there is any other northerner that say he will do also 4 years, then both of you are at the same level of equity, because there would be no injustice in that section. So there's nothing wrong in a party, for instance, especially an opposition party that doesn't have an incumbent, saying in order that Nigerians will be free to trust them, that they are going to have a transitional government whereby whoever is going to contest would have to agree to do 1 term and do not exercise his constitutional rights to recontest. A party can do that, so that whether they present a candidate from the north or from the south, the Nigerians from either section will not feel that they have been betrayed or an injustice meted out to them. For instance, if a northerner wins in another political party and commits to do 4 years, then what it means is that the south and the north has shared for 4 years like they did during the Yaradua Goodluck Jonathan period, and there will be no injustice. So there is nothing, absolutely nothing that ought to raise concerns or arguments. But like you said, a man who kills by the sword does not like people to wave sword at his back.